Hello, welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is a teacher and a musician, Thomas Tafedjian from Olympia, Washington. Thomas, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
Thomas, you have a very interesting project that has brought you to Armenia. This isn't your first visit. You were here as a Birthright volunteer last year?
That's correct.
And you worked on a project called Teach for Armenia that came from the concept of Teach for America.
Correct.
You worked at TUMO with children. Tell us what you did while you were here first, before we talk about your project.
Sure. So last year, I was here with Birthright Armenia, and I was working at TUMO doing a songwriting project. And so basically what I did at TUMO was I created this new workshop with a small group of students, and we were working on creating our own songs over a 10-week period. And then we recorded the songs, and we had this performance where people came and got to see these new songs. And then with Teach for Armenia, I was working with Larissa Ryan on developing that new organization and doing outreach and research for Teach for Armenia.
Okay, and so was that the inspiration that led you on this crazy journey that it's called Our Song Workshop World Tour?
Correct.
So tell us how that came to be in.
Sure. So the idea actually started when I was teaching in the US. I taught I taught music for 2 years in the Mississippi Delta. And so during that time, I always sort of thought I would want to, someday travel the world and teach music all around the world. So I started with in Armenia. And because I was able to do this workshop at TUMO, I was able to see that, doing this sort of like songwriting workshop, it's really effective in getting students to create their own songs. And then so after being in Armenia is sort of when I realized that, okay, this is like a project, this is something that I can take to a bunch of different countries all around the world.
So you decided to go to 8 or 9 or 10 countries and work with children in schools, developing this concept, and in order to raise funds, you went on Kickstarter and you raised how much?
Just over $10,000.
So that was enough to cover your expenses, the bare minimum, to be able to go to these different countries. Which countries have you been to so far?
So this year I started in Thailand, and then I went to India, and then Oman, and now I just have a week to visit Armenia, and after this I go to Africa.
Africa, which country?
I go to Ethiopia, Tanzania, South Africa, and then I'll fly over to South America. I'll go to Uruguay, Argentina, up to Guatemala, and then back home.
So you're trying to cover all the continents.
That's exactly right.
Thomas, tell me, okay, so you do these workshops with these children, you teach them how to write songs, how to perform, you document it, and then what?
So these, as I go, all the pictures and some of the song clips and some of the video clips are going online so people can follow along with my journey. And then the main thing is at the end, I'll be compiling all of the best songs into like a little album of student songs around the world. And then the video footage will go into a short documentary about my journey.
What is it that you think these children take away? I mean, why is it important for you to put your life on hold, I'm assuming, because this takes months of work, to go, I mean, what is it that you want to impart to those kids?
So for me, the big thing about music, songwriting in particular, is it gives you a voice, an outlet to say something to the world. And I think that that's something really interesting to me, and I think it's something that's very valuable to students everywhere, regardless of where you're from or what your background is. I think everyone deserves to have some sort of voice in the world, and I think that songwriting and music is the perfect outlet, and that's what I do. So for me to be able to, give that gift of music to a student is the most.
So there's really no grand mission. It's about spreading the love of music, giving children a voice for more social inclusion, perhaps, huh?
Yeah.
life. Sangeet जीवन है.
Music is life.
संगीत मेरो लागि सबै कुरा हो. मुसिक hayat.
Music is life.
Okay. Is this something that you, is this something that you thought maybe 5 years ago that you would be doing now? Or what, again, you said you came to Armenia, you worked at TUMO, you worked with the kids, and that sort of triggered this thing, but where is this inspiration coming from? I'm trying to understand.
Well, 5 years ago, maybe not, but like I said, in Mississippi, in the US, when I was teaching music there, that's really when the inspiration started. That's really when, I had the moment of realization that it's like, okay, I always knew that music was, a great thing, whatever, it's a big part of life, but that was when I was like, I truly started to understand the gift of being able to give another person, the ability to communicate through song. And so when I was teaching in Mississippi, I was teaching in a very underprivileged community, and a lot of these students didn't have the most opportunities, right? And so for me to be some of their first music teacher, and to be able to be like, hey, listen, you can do this, you're awesome, and you can make music, and then to have them create these incredible songs, that's so incredible to me. You know what I mean? And so now it's sort of like, I did this thing in Mississippi, and now I want to see what kids all around the world are like. I want to think about songwriting and teach songwriting across a bunch of different cultures, and see what's, see what is in common between kids all over the world, right? Right.
It's about empowerment, giving them a voice. Just as a final question, it's very curious to me, the different countries that you've been to so far. Are there some fundamental differences, or are children reacting in the same way regardless of their culture or their social sort of background?
I would say that my experience in general has been, young people, kids, are pretty much the same wherever you go. And usually going into a new country, I have all these reservations, I don't know, I want to make sure that I have the appropriate cultural norms, but in the end, it's like those differences are always overshadowed by what we have in common, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. Common humanity, right?
Yeah.
Well, Thomas, this was really refreshing. Thank you so much for coming. We'll be following you. You have a blog, right? And we'll be showing some of the videos as well that you prepare. And hopefully when you're finished with your world tour, you'll come back to Armenia and talk about your experiences.
Great. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for watching CivilNet. I'd like to remind our viewers that my guest today was Thomas Tafedjian, a teacher and musician. Stay with CivilNet.